Welcome back to Los Angeles, California, everyone. It is time for round one of the Pro Tour. My name is Sam O'Byrne. This is Pankaj Bhajwani. Welcome to the booth. Thank you for joining me. How you feeling?
Of course, thank you for joining me too. I am feeling great, Sam. I know you and Uber talked about this earlier, but how open this meta is, I am just so thrilled to be able to watch what the players have brought today.
Absolutely. A little bit of a Wild West out there, right? We're here on the West Coast. Nobody really knows exactly what's going on. Mist has swarmed in from Mysteria as we look to part the Mist Veil in the future, but for now, all it does is obscure the meta before us. And we have got such a show for you all today. We got $200,000 on the line. We got 14 rounds of Classic Constructed and Draft before we move on to the top 8. And we have got quite literally some of the best players in the world all in one room competing under one roof. So tell me, as you look ahead, what are you most excited to see?
I'm most excited to see creative deck building from our players. So we talk a lot about how open this meta is, and I think the best way to attack one of these metas is by finding those slots in your deck that come in for many different matchups. And I think that's going to be a skill that a lot of these players are going to be tested against for this tournament, because they're going to be prepared for the Katsus, they're going to be prepared for the KOs, they're going to be prepared for the Dromais, the KNOs, some Prisms here and there, and all the Warriors, of course. So many matchups you need to be prepared for, and conserving slots by finding cards that fit into many different matchups is going to be the key to success for this tournament.
Absolutely, some of those toolbox cards that allow you to attack multiple matchups, not just the Arcane Barrier, in case you run into the Scary Wizard Man. Now, you talked to the first couple heroes you mentioned. You said you got to be ready for the Katsus. You got to be ready for the KOs.
Yes.
Why'd you bring those two heroes up?
Because I believe that's our first matchup, Sam. And speaking of really good players, our first matchup involves our previous Pro Tour champion, Michael Fung, going up against Taylor Crawford. Michael Fung on KO with Taylor Crawford on Katsu.
So I think we should just go ahead and get down into the game. You guys have waited long enough for the Pro Tour. We've waited long enough to see some incredible flesh and blood in action. It is time for round one of the 4th Pro Tour in Flesh and Blood.
Oh, snap.
It's Michael Fung, your last
Katsu
against Taylor Crawford of Mr. I believe, on Team On Hit over there. Rocking the Katsu deck a little bit of a dark horse. It's quite literally, I feel like, the last maybe 9 days that people have started to whisper about the Lord of Wind and his return. People forgot about Katsu. Tell me, what we'll break down KO. We know what to expect a little more, as the dominance of this hero's early days has been well documented. But what is pushing people back towards this hero?
So I love the fact that you brought up in the past 9 days, because to some extent I'm getting Pro Tour Baltimore vibes and what happened with Lexi at that Pro Tour, where a lot of people were talking about Azalea leading a Pro Tour, but in last week before Pro Tour Baltimore, everyone was like, wait, is Lexi just broken? And it feels like a similar thing is happening for Katsu this event. And I think a big reason why that's happening, Sam, is because of how a lot of the decks, well, the most prominent deck right now, which is KO, doesn't really block very well, and they are extremely vulnerable to Dishonor. And the other big deck in the format that we're thinking about right now is Dromai, also a deck that's very vulnerable to Dishonor, and of course Illusion is traditionally not very good.
I'm ending it.